Imagine that tomorrow, everything disappeared. All the food in the stores, electricity, heat, and 99% of the planet's population. All that would remain would be a handful of people stranded on a cold, empty, rocky shore by the ocean. Sounds like the premise of a Hollywood disaster movie, right? But this isn't a movie. This is the true story of our species. Approximately 74,000 years ago, humanity faced an event that nearly wiped us off the face of the Earth forever. That fateful year, the Toba supervolcano erupted on the island of Sumatra. This wasn't just a violent flare-up. This was the most powerful explosion on the planet in the last 2 million years. The volcano ejected nearly 3,000 cubic kilometers of hot ash and mud into the atmosphere. By comparison, the famous Mount St. Helens explosion in 1980 ejected just 1 cubic kilometer of material. Toba was 2,800 times larger. In just a few weeks, a gigantic black cloud blocked the sun over all of South Asia and reached Africa. A long, terrible volcanic winter descended on Earth. Global temperatures dropped several degrees for a full decade. Imagine a world without summer, a world where the sun barely pierced a gray haze. Heavy ash fell everywhere on land. In some places, its layers reached a depth of 6 meters. Under this toxic blanket, all plants instantly died. Forests began to collapse. The large animals hunted by ancient humans either starved to death or retreated to places where they could not be hunted. Food chains built over millions of years collapsed in an instant. A great famine began. And worst of all, our population dropped to a critical minimum. On the entire vast planet, there were only 3,000 to 10,000 people left. Not just on one continent, but on the entire Earth. Our species was on the brink of total extinction. Geneticists are still amazed at how we survived. Did you know that the entire human race today has less genetic diversity than a single chimpanzee family in a single Central African forest? We are all descendants of that tiny group of survivors. But how exactly did these few thousand people survive the apocalypse? Where did they hide if the entire land turned into a lifeless, ash-covered desert? Scientists searched for the answer to this mystery for a long time, and they found it at the very edge of the world, on the southern coast of what is now South Africa. This place is called Pinnacle Point. There, directly above the raging Indian Ocean, in high rocky caves, people found their final refuge. At first glance, this coastal cliff seemed a completely barren and harsh place, devoid of any resources. No fruit grew here, no herds of wild deer roamed. But this place had a secret, hidden beneath the water. The ocean saved humanity. The fact is that the tides, twice a day, exposed the shoreline, and this zone turned out to be the richest dining area on the planet. While forests were dying on land, coastal seawater remained vibrant. Volcanic ash failed to destroy life in the tidal pools. Clams, mussels, sea urchins, and crabs grew in vast quantities right under people's feet on the rocks. To obtain this food, there was no need to risk one's life, chase giant predators with a spear, or gather hunting parties. All that was needed was one simple thing: learning to understand the tide schedule. Ancient people quickly realized that when the water receded, they simply had to descend from the cave to the rocks and collect food by hand. The sea provided nutritious calories every day with perfect precision. Scientists excavated these caves and discovered gigantic piles of ancient shells. This proves that people ate seafood for thousands of years, surviving the harshest years of the volcanic winter there. The barren rock proved to be the perfect rescue ark. But calories and full stomachs alone can't save a species from extinction. To remain human and avoid becoming wild animals fighting over a scrap of food, something else was needed. The group needed to maintain unity, culture, and society. And in those same caves, archaeologists found something they never expected to see in a refugee camp struggling to survive. They found ochre, an ancient red pigment similar to paint. Our ancestors spent precious time and effort grinding these stones into powder and painting their bodies and cave walls. Paint has no nutritional value. It doesn't help start fires or sharpen weapons. So why did they do it? It was their primary social technology. Paint helped them distinguish their own from others, perform rituals, and convey important signals. They reminded each other that they were one family, one tribe with its own rules and responsibilities. The ochre helped them refrain from going mad with fear and becoming separated. It saved their minds, while the ocean saved their bodies. Calories from the ocean and ritual paint on the cave walls helped people cling to the brink. But to truly defeat the apocalypse, the ancient refugees needed something else: advanced technology. And here, on this barren cliff, our ancestors made a real breakthrough in science, even though they had no laboratories or computers. In the Pinnacle Point caves, archaeologists discovered stone tools made from a local stone called silkrete. In its natural, wild form, this stone is very capricious and brittle. It is impossible to make a precise, sharp, and durable knife or spearhead from it. But people found a solution. They figured out how to temper the stone with fire. They buried pieces of silkrete in hot sand directly under a fire, heated it to a precise temperature, and then slowly cooled it. This complex heat treatment completely altered the stone's internal structure, making it the perfect material for creating the sharpest weapons. Such a discovery couldn't be made by accident. You can't just throw a stone into a fire and create a superweapon. Exceed the temperature and the stone will explode. Cool it too quickly and it will crack. This was true primordial physics and material science passed down from generation to generation. The masters taught young hunters with their eyes, hands, and personal experience. This planning technology gave humans immense power. But here's where the story gets truly strange. When the population of any species on Earth dwindles to a few thousand individuals, a process of degeneration inevitably begins due to inbreeding. In small, isolated groups, children are born weak and sick. By all the laws of nature, humanity should have quietly died out from disease in just a couple of centuries. But that didn't happen. Genetic analysis shows that after the volcanic winter, humans began reproducing and dispersing at an incredible rate. How did they defy the laws of genetics? Scientists are certain that the surviving people weren't locked in a single cave. Several small communities lived right on the ocean shore. They couldn't constantly share their meager food, but they created the first social network in history. People maintained contact across vast distances along the entire coast, forming alliances and exchanging tribe members. And this is where ochre, that same red paint, came into play again. Body patterns were an ancient passport. Seeing a person from afar, people could tell by the color and shape of the pattern that they were an ally, a relative, or a friend with whom they could do business. Life on a coastal cliff demanded colossal brainpower from people. Gathering shellfish in the ocean is not just picking berries in the forest. It is a complex intellectual task. The ocean is deadly. To survive, one had to calculate the lunar cycles, ebbs and flows with perfect precision. An hour's error and you'll be swept out to sea. Furthermore, during certain seasons, the seawater blooms with toxic algae. The shellfish absorb this poison, which becomes fatal to humans, yet they appear completely normal. The ancient community must have possessed a colossal database. Which types of shellfish were edible, in what month, and on what specific part of the rock. If only one person possessed this knowledge and died, the entire community would die of poisoning the very next day. Therefore, the coastal cliff became not a prison for the people, but a veritable library. Every lunar phase read, every properly heated stone, every safe food recipe was carefully recorded in the collective memory of the tribe and passed down to children. The volcanic winter destroyed the entire familiar world, but it could not destroy what was stored inside human heads. Our species survived not because we were stronger or faster than predators. We survived thanks to culture, mutual aid, and knowledge. 74,000 years have passed since then. Today, you're sitting in a warm room, staring at your phone or computer screen, and breathing clean air. But in your veins flows the blood of those few thousand heroes who once refused to surrender on the dark, cold shore of a raging ocean. Every person you meet on the street is a distant relative of yours from that same coastal cave. The Toba supervolcano took almost everything from humanity, wiped out forests and animals, and plunged the planet into darkness. But it couldn't take away our ability to remain human, to remain loyal to our tribe, and to pass on knowledge. And that's why we are here today.